in this space, in this separation, in this universe. It is not just in this what you recognize as separation, but in this universe. We'll talk about the universe, even though it does go other places also, but we're going to deal with just basically this universe. I'm clarifying because you were always looking for clarification. And if I said just this, then you would say, well, what about that? So I'm going to try to be clear. Precision, like you are thinking, does not really exist in Divinity, because Divinity is such a moving, flowing thing. It is not a stagnant set point type of thing. But we are trying to bring these concepts to you and understandings to you so that you may be able to conceptualize them here in this universe that has been, Divinity has not had free flow and movement in line with divine movement, expression. Everything has been hindered and blocked, and it has gone from the natural flow of Divinity into thinking, reasoning, and the term is there, you often use learning. See, when each of you were created, each individual soul was created, you were already complete. You did not have to, it was not necessary for you to learn anything to become more of something. You already were complete in of yourselves. Your expression of Divinity is not to attain to more as though that is a necessary thing. You are already whole and full and created as when you were created. They have made you feel the lack by restricting the free flow and expression of Divinity. And as that has moved throughout all of the universe of the souls, then there is constant lack feeling. And when that lack feeling presents itself, then they convince you that you need something, and then they convince you what you need, and they will send you down paths that require reasoning and learning. And they have constrained the free flow of Divinity and its natural, organic movement. And though they have corrupted Divinity, that which is divine cannot be denied completely. And so even in the distorted place in which they try to constrain Divinity's movement and compartmentalize and rationalize, Divinity is always calling forth, calling forth, calling forth. So I use the term like fairness and love and creativity as though they are separate things, but they are not. As I've said before, that is one thing. They have broken it apart and tried to use rationalizations to undermine it and make you feel lacking. You are feeling lacking because your Divinity is not having its free flow movement. And in that lack, you are always trying to attain something more that will get you back. But you only understand it as the compartmentalized terms and expressions, such as self-esteem, power, fairness, justice, truth. You see these things as separate things that you must work on separately and individually, and it is not accurate or truthful. You are, as you are realigning to your Divinity, and your Divinity is coming, your natural tendencies to of separation of these things, and your learned behaviors over countless lives and between lives, that you are lacking. You must learn because you need to go farther, and you have to do this farther. You have become accustomed to feeling that you are lack, rather than just recognizing that it was just divinity that you needed to align with, or your own divinity align with, and then align with the macrocosm of divinity. This is difficult because there are thinkings and thoughts and reasonings that have been plugged into you again and again and again, repeated and repeated, and so that they go off as like a trip line. As though, well, what about this? Or what about that? Let me think about this. Well, what about it? And you try to think of, for instance, in your experience, you will say fair, and then when you hear the word fair, you imagine a scale, and you put things on one side and you put things on the other side. You measure things out. You measure and weigh and balance and reason. Is this fair? If this happens here, then then this other thing has to happen there. Otherwise, it is not fair. That is not how divinity works. Divinity does not work by laws and rules and measurements. There is a divine fairness that is far grander than anything you can conceptualize here in this limited nitpickiness. As a soul is created and becomes a singular, individualized soul, their personality is complete. They are complete. They are lacking in nothing. They need nothing to fulfill anything, because they are whole and complete and have all the knowledge and understanding that they need. But as is the element of divinity and from the Creator, the God, the source of all light, there is always a need to explore and play. We like the word play better than explore, because explore, in your understanding, is a connotation that may require hardships and discomfort. Whereas play does not, because if you are playing and it becomes uncomfortable, then you stop the play, because it is just play. So when a soul is created, there is the desire, not even desire, I would say impulse. Yes, impulse is better. There is the impulse to create, and to create in their own unique way. And every soul has the ability to work in this creation. And in the macrocosm of souls, as each soul is experiencing the play, think of it this way. Imagine a child is outside and it is playing. And then another child comes along. The natural way in which things usually occur is the one child who sees the other child playing will usually walk over to the other child and say, "What are you doing?" And the child will say, "I am playing such and such." And the other child will say, "Can I play?" And the first child usually says, "Of course." This is a natural way that happens, and so it happens. And on a soul level, but it's not necessarily so klutzy as communication. It just sort of naturally flows that way. And then another soul comes along, and it may want to join, or it may want to go off and do something even different. And there you can have an individual soul or groups of souls working on something or many things, and this is going out throughout all creation. This back and forth and play, and ones can play with one and then go over and play with the other, or go off and play by themselves and then come back and play, and the plays are going and going. But what you do not understand is that when the way divinity works is that this play is always balancing out with all the other play of all the others in this beautiful symphony of play. And it is always fair and balanced and beneficial for each other. Though they may not necessarily choose to or intend to make it be beneficial for each other, it all is. It is all inspiring each other, whether they recognize it or not. It is always doing such. Does not have to be, let me figure out a way to make this be beneficial. It just is. Because that is how it works in divinity. It is only here where things have been so distorted and pulled away from divinity and rationalized and reasoned and measured and measured and measured that you have pulled away from the natural flow and balancing, so that when you do something or inspired, you have all these other things that are added along the outside edges and this and limits and twists and turns that take away the natural benefit and inspiration of it. Though it may have some, it does not have the fullest inter-affectingness of it. I do not know if that is even words there, but we will try. Interconnectedness? This is not it. We will just go with that. There is too much thinking. There is too much rationalizing. There are too many limits. When you are moving into, when all is moving into the divinity, this will naturally just happen. It will not have to be created. There will not have to be paths created. It will just naturally occur. You are not there yet. There is still too much fighting and determination to think their way through and to organize things in a way in which there is still a desire to one-up each other. There is still a desire to, because you are in such a dark and disconnectedness, you desire to return back to that which you were, but you have no, I will say, conscious recollection, even in the deepest soul levels. It has been so far, far away that the moment of your creation is many times, for many of you, lost. And so you have forgotten that connection. Some may have been able to reconnect with God, the source of all life, but you need to make sure that you are connected with God, the source of all life, and not any alternate collections or beings that have ulterior purposes by drawing you to them. You will know the difference between when you connect with God, the source of all light. If you are feeling a sense of lack, or there is a, you need to do this and you need to do that. These are, it is all being taken care of. Those that have falsely represented themselves to the souls as being God's divine beings, leaders, ascended ones which they should copy, emulate, or be guided by. This is being taken care of, and it is being understood that this is not a beneficial course for return, and cannot exist when the realignment of all to divinity. Because if it was, it naturally would just remain. If we have to find a way, this has been our realization. And we are realizing it so much so. We were attempting to maintain as much that was the structures and scaffolding of the universe of the souls, so as to maintain much of what you have built. It was very difficult because as we tried to maintain that, there were so many that were trying to build off of our scaffolding in ways that were not in line with divinity, and it was creating new tangles and knots and paths that were not in line with divinity, and we were becoming overwhelmed and disheartened by these paths and choices that were being made. And this is coming to an end because that did not work. Do not be disappointed. We had to try. But it is clear that it is not a matter of taking something and changing it back to something else. Because you will always try to pull it back to that which you knew and was created, because it's your habit. We are just going to have to go through, it has become clear, and have divinity just come through. And all that aligns easily and naturally into the divinity, though it will be a lot more uncomfortable for you than it could have been. Because it would be saying as, imagine this, imagine that you were going to move from one house to another house. And you were uncomfortable because you really liked your first house. But if you were allowed to bring your furniture and your clothes with you, it will help to ease the move, because there will be things there you were familiar with. We were attempting to allow the bringing of more into that where we were going, so as to make it easier for you. We are now aware that this is not going to work. And it is somewhat disappointing, but it is obviously, this is not the best path to take. We were trying to do something. There's the problem there. We were trying. Instead of just doing and going along with divinity, we were trying to make some allowances and concessions. You cannot make concessions when you are in divinity. Divinity is divinity, and it is always such. It cannot not be divinity. You cannot have divinity make an adjustment or compromise. It is either divine or it is not. There is no compromise. There is no, how can we bring this to divinity? It is either divine or it is not divine. We were trying to take that which was not divine and realign it and make it divine. When it was not divine, it cannot be. And this has been shown to be so. That is why we had to attempt the great merging, and to bring everybody and everything in and try to work. And we were desperately trying to do this until it was like, stop. This is not working. This is not working. It is just entangling everything else, and we are not going to do that. So, we are going to go more aligned with just bringing in divinity, and we are just going to push it through and pull it through completely, and just going to fill divinity in. There will be more discomfort, and because though you are not really comfortable where you are used to it. You are used to the discomfort. And so when the discomfort is gone, immediately you do not always feel, oh yay! Immediately you may be like, where's the thing I've always known? And so we are going to move into that. It is going to be quickly, and instead of a slower adjustment, it's going to be much, much faster. It is just going to happen. And there is going to be much that we had hoped to maintain that will not be there, so that only that which is fully and completely divine, not with that which adjusted back into divinity, but that which is divine will remain, and all that is not divine will not. And then it will move into the divine, aligning and through all. And we see it, and it is clear, and even those who had attained what was 100% divinity, you were noticing that by remaining in an atmosphere, we're using this as a term, this is not an actual scientific actuality, always defining, always limits. You were finding that it was difficult to stay there because there was always these pulling and tuggings and rationalizations that were coming in and making it difficult. We see that. We cannot just let you be at, say, 70% divinity for a month and then move it to 80% divinity and then for a month. And because the entire time requires, it pulls down that which is already realigned and pulls it back into distortion. Distortions are like that. They will always mess up and be gunk and cause problems. We were holding back divinity from being its fullestness because we were trying to not lose as much. But that which we are losing is that which must be lost because it cannot be aligned. I would like to say, the time weaver expression would like to say, don't be worried, it's going to be okay. But we are not going to say that because your definitions of okay would not apply here. We'll all be divine and enlightened and balanced and beautiful, and yes. But does that mean that each individual soul or things that that individual soul was trying to hold on to will be there? Only if it's completely in line with divinity and moving in divinity. You're going to have to release all your measuring, all your definitions, all your rules, all your reasonings. Because as you're pulling to divinity and the divine path is set before you and you're open to it, if you sit there and say, I'm going to reason as to whether this is right or wrong, is this fair or not, there is no such thing as unfair in divinity. It's not even a concept. Everything balanced and everything is moving. And there is no, this person got more and I got less. This person's on their own path, and what they have coming and going and moving through their existence is different from another person's, what they need, what they're doing and creating, and what's going on in their life. It is not a comparison, what is that term, apples and oranges? You're trying to balance out apples and oranges. I have 3 apples and you have 2 oranges. Well, are the apples bigger or the little tiny oranges, or the big oranges and the little tiny apple? It's like you cannot, it is not apples and oranges. It is like ping pong and gorillas. How do you balance out fairness between ping pongs and gorillas? I agree totally. You cannot do it because that makes no sense. That which in their expression is the ping pong comes in and is part of their expression and their beauty and their growth and experience, then their ping pong will be there. But the other person may not want ping pong, may not like it at all. It's not part of who they are. It's not part of their expression. So why would you say, oh, but I have this many ping pong balls, so therefore this person must have this many ping pong balls. I don't want ping pong balls. Yes, but we have to make it fair. It does not work like that. Move through your own light and your own expression with your own soul. If you see someone in need, then you would help them with their need. But that is only in this temporary transitional phase. Once we get to completely moving in with divinity, no one will have lack. No one will have desperation or scarcity. And it will all be fair and it will all be balanced, but it does not mean they will all be the same. In the attempt to try to always have more than that, you cannot have more than that, because what that one has is different from what this one has. And this one's expression is different from that one's expression. They are not the same. You can be inspired, but it still will always be different. The ideas that exist there of fairness, justice, truth, love. We really do not like to use that word love. Not that there's something wrong with the part of divinity that has been expressed as love, but because it has become so distorted and warped, and there are more distortions attached with that concept than almost any, well, that one in power. Oh my God. So we are sometimes finding that though we are coming to understand and use the words that are there, that you are understood in your spoken language, we are coming to find quite distasteful, because as those words are spoken, we are seeing how they are being understood by the souls, and it is very distasteful to us. There is much that we are finding very distasteful here. And we are not going to put up with this. We are not going to allow this to continue. So you are feeling uncomfortable. You are feeling uncomfortable because you are trying to measure out. You are trying to divine. You are trying to rationalize that which is divine, and it cannot be done such. It is an experience. It is a state of being. It is not something to be measured, to be reasoned. You're going to have to let this go. And when you find the measuring and the reasoning and it's not fair because this happened with this person or that happened with that person. If that person got this, then I need to get something too because they had that. This is cluttering your own divinity. Because you're not on your own path, because you are getting sidetracked. There is a book, a children's book. It came out in the 70s. It was part of something called the Sweet Pickles books. And the book was called Me Too Iguana. I think that is the book. And in this book, there was an iguana that lived in town. And as the iguana went about town, she would notice other animals that also lived in this town. And she would admire qualities these other animals had. She would admire stork's feathers or the stripes on zebra. And she would, as soon as she would see them, she would go and apply them to herself. Until she was walking around with this dangerous cacophony of trying to do everything she saw everyone else doing or having. And she couldn't see herself. And so the town saw what was happening to her and decided that best thing to do is everybody would copy her. And she would want to copy them because they were copying her. She did not see her own beauty and her own wonder and take her own path. She was too busy on everyone else's path. So when someone else in their own divine path is taking a path that brings in something, and we may like it and we may admire it and it may inspire us, but we do not try to do it to the same extent and in the way that they are doing it, because that's their path. It is very hard there because you have parents, schools, magazines, television, all these things trying to get us to be like somebody else, like something else. This is the ideal. This is what you want to attain. And in doing so, you don't even know who you are or what you like or what you are inclined toward. This may require extreme quietness for some time to get used to realize what it is that you want. One may be drawn to living in a tropical place, walking along beaches, and just sort of being at one and playing reggae music, and that may be their place. Whereas another, it may be building great ice sculptures in the northernmost parts of the Arctic Circle, and finding that is their place, that is their space. Someone may want something very grand and big to live in, whereas someone else may want something very small and spend most of their time in nature. Some may want to be close by with many others, and others maybe want to be very isolated. You have to find your own space, not because this is what is defined as an ideal, because that is your own thing. What colors are you drawn to? What textures are you drawn to? What temperatures are you drawn to? What foods are you drawn to? Not because this is popular, not because this is what you were given as a child. You do not know these things. You will have to explore them and find them. There will be a time period that this will be going on where you will be realigning back to recognizing who you are. And as you do so, you're placed in the divine macrocosm of divinity, and its balance will occur, and all will become fair and balanced and beneficial to each other. To get into this place, you must learn to just, when you feel the desires that I must be this, I need to be that, release them. If it is the, I've got to paint this, or I have to draw this, or I have to play this music, I have to take a walk out in the woods and do those things. But when you feel that I have to do this because someone else has more, someone else is experiencing something that I want to experience, stop it. That is their experience. The idea that approval comes by those that achieve a certain thing or a certain level, you are going to find, my dear ones, that many of the ones that have the highest acclaim in this distortion will not even be there in the other side of the alignment to divinity, because they had only achieved what they did because they aligned themselves more with the distortions that exist there. You do not know what your paths are. Let them unfold and let them be quiet. And when you feel a sense of lack or pulling back to, I want to attain this because, divinity does not use because very often. Divinity just, I'm painting this because I can't not paint this. I'm going for this walk, I'm walking down this path because I can't not walk down this path. I just have to go down this path. I am being pulled by this smell, this sight I'm feeling. I'm just moving because I am just moving. I am not moving because I need to attain this. I am moving because this is who I am. It is different. It is not to attain, to accomplish. This is going to take some getting used to. We were trying to go slower so as to accommodate this. It is not working. We're going to have to go faster, which will make it more uncomfortable. But this is what must happen. We've been dragging it out far too long. What does this mean for you if you have anxiety about this? Then this is a good thing, because your anxiety is there because your divinity knows that there are things there that you've been holding on to that need to go. And your divinity is saying, I can finally get rid of this. And you're like, no, I don't want to. Not because you don't want to, but because you think you have to keep it to stay safe, to get love, to get appreciation, to get value. And you divinity is like, I don't need that stuff. It's going, and I know it's going because it's not divine. And it's right. Now, true, your divinity is not actually physically saying that. We're telling this in a story method that is used there. Personification, yes. Divinity is not a consciousness. It is the natural, it is a natural element, I would call it, that is of God, the creator, the source of all life. And it is all that is created, it comes from God, the source of all life. That element moves throughout that and connects all. And do not try to go through and define and measure it. Oh, please. That is not the way it works. But that is why you are uncomfortable right now, because we are moving away from that which we were trying to accomplish, because we recognize that that which we were trying to accomplish was not working in line with divinity. And so now we are doing something different. That is how we work. It is not all precision, precision, precision. It's a lot of, let's just go and try, and then we'll flow here, and then we'll flow there, and then we'll try this, and we'll do that. All will be divine. All will be aligned to divinity. All that is not aligned to divinity will not be here. How we get to there, we will know, we'll figure it out along the path. Until then, no. This is necessary. And it is necessary in light and love. Because if we did not do this, everything would be lost.